Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name is Tony. This is the 15-minute gamer, and today I've been checking out Still Wakes the Deep, which is out now on Steam for $29.99. However, it's currently 10% off, or you can get it on Game Pass for free. 1975, disaster strikes the Beira D oil rig off the coast of Scotland. Navigate the collapsing rig to save your crew from an otherworldly horror on the edge of all logic and reality. Before we get into it though, it would mean a lot if you subscribe to the channel as I head ever closer to my next goal of 25,000 subscribers. And hey, while you're there, why not drop the video a like? Right, let's get into it. This is a horror walking simulator with small environmental puzzles and QTEs aplenty. I saw a few reviews saying it isn't a walking simulator, but I really don't know what game they were playing because there's only one route and you walk forward until you beat the game. And no matter how you dress it, it's a walking simulator. Starting off with gameplay, and there's not a huge amount to cover here. You press W on your keyboard, you occasionally stop to click some buttons, pull switches, replace fuses, turn valves and do fetch quests for people. There is stealth, kind of, and platforming type sections, but again, they are very non-gameplay. I don't even know if that's a word, but there's not much gameplay here. The stealth, there's only one route to do it. The platforming, there's only one way you can go. It's very simplistic in the way it does that, and you're constantly forced down the same path. Moving on to one of the biggest positives about this game and what it absolutely nails is the atmosphere. It's honestly unreal how much you feel isolated and stuck in this situation. The way it's all handled is so good. I mean, the monsters didn't make me jump. It was the environmental element and some of the set pieces that really made me jump. I was really on edge through quite a few of them. You know, it's not often we see games in this sort of setting, and this game just nailed it. One thing that really helps to set the atmosphere is the voice acting. It's honestly so good. One of the best I've heard in an indie title. The way they portray the characters, the feeling, the dread, it's all done so well. It's nice to hear some different kinds of accents like Scottish and there was some Yorkshire in there. It's not something you hear often in a game. And they even got the slang spot on as well for the Scottish people, even though the subtitles changed to like proper English in case you're going, what's he going on about? But yeah, if you put subtitles on, you can see what they're saying. Now moving on to the story, this is where the game lets itself down, I would say. It runs out of steam towards the end, and it wasn't particularly great all the way through. It started off well, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but basically you're drilling for oil, something goes wrong, and the crew start getting taken over and turned into monsters, and it's up to you to rescue people and escape. Playtime is 3 to 5 hours if you keep that W key held forward. The biggest issue with the story is I think the beginning could have done with maybe 20-30 more minutes of setup. You know, meeting the characters, getting to care for them and know them. The character arc, building yourself up into the character you are and exploring the main character, which is the oil rig. But it kind of just throws you in. And I didn't really have any emotional attachment to any characters. So like, oh my God, so-and-so's died. And I'm like, whatever. I didn't really know who they were. The story is filled with a little bit too much of them time-wasting elements, plus the slow walking speed, and it just feels like it's there to pad the length out a little bit. I really think it would have been 2.5, 3 hours if you cut all that out. It could have been filled with more lore and world building and character development. It also reaches a super unsatisfying conclusion, which is just such a shame. And also on top of that, there's no replayability here. You know, you're going to play it once for 4 to 5 hours and never play it again. The horror aspect and the monsters, I would say they're designed decently, but I would have liked to seen a little more variation and a little bit more imagination. The thing that takes over the station just looks a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, a bit silly. The game kind of doesn't need it because of that sound and atmosphere. That's where you get most scared and most tense from. Moving on to graphics, sounds, bugs and performance. Graphics wise, honestly, I think it looks really good. Texture quality, lighting, effects all looked realistic and well designed. The only slight downside is I would say the animations get a little bit old because you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You see the same animation over again, and I think they could have put a bit more in there. Sound design, as I said, voice acting, great. Outside of that, the sound, the ambience and otherwise was all great too. Whoever did the sound, did really well. Performance-wise, I wouldn't say it was terrible, but I wouldn't say it's great. There was a couple of slowdowns, and it never seemed to run silky smooth, but it ran well enough, and I didn't see any bugs. So in conclusion, I think you can look at this one in a couple of ways. If you're into horror and walking simulators and you have Game Pass, it's honestly an absolute no-brainer. Even if you just want to check it out for free, why not? However, when it comes to the full price of $29.99 for 4 or 5 hours of walking, yeah, it's got a great atmosphere, but it makes it more harder of a sell. If I was buying it, I would probably wishlist and wait for a decent sale towards the £20 to £15 mark, or just pay for Game Pass for a month and check it out. It's not a bad game at all. It's just not long enough. The story's not fantastic, but the atmosphere, the voice acting and everything else kind of props it up. So it depends really how much you're into walking simulators and horror games. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll catch you all later. Goodbye.